Hi, I'm James Glisson, Curator of Contemporary Art at the Santa Barbara Museum of Art, and I want to talk to you about a painting in the collection by Dorothy Hood called See Elegy II from 1972 that is a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Meredith Long. Dorothy Hood isn't a household name, but she should be. I think she's a really great abstract painter who's very underrated. She grew up in Houston and went to study at the Rhode Island School of Design. And after a brief time in New York, moved to Mexico City in 1941, where she met Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo, and the poet Pablo Neruda, who would later win the Nobel Prize. And Neruda wrote about her artwork. She exhibited in Mexico City and kind of came into her own there. She moved back. She went back and forth between Mexico City, New York City, and Houston from 1941 to about 1961 when she settled down in Houston with her husband, José Maria Velasco Medana, who was a Bolivian conductor who traveled with her all over Latin America and conducted with Toscanini in New York and at the Hollywood Bowl. But in the 1960s, she settled down in Houston and was really able to focus on her work in a serious way. And she had a breakthrough. In 1970, the Contemporary Art Museum in Houston invited her to have a retrospective. And the director at the time really encouraged her to work large. She'd always worked relatively small because, as she said, she didn't have money for canvas and she didn't have much space to work in. So she began producing paintings of the size of See Elegy that we have, paintings that are 7 by 10. And as she tells it, when she was first working on these paintings, she had a larger studio, but it still didn't have a high enough ceiling. So she worked on them and they were turned sideways. And she didn't really see how the paintings would look turned vertical until they were in the Contemporary Art Museum and being installed. And that experience of seeing a painting on its side, I think really informs what you see in See Elegy. Take a look at the painting. Notice in the upper left corner, there's this sense of flow, as if the materials in it are flowing up towards the top of the canvas. Turn a little bit, a little counterclockwise to the middle left of the canvas, and there's this slice of slightly darker gray. That bit of gray is, to my eye, drifting towards the edge of the canvas. And you get also a similar sense of drift and flow in the extreme upper right corner. Try for a moment, as you're looking at this image of the painting, to center your eye on the middle of it. You can find it, but doesn't your eye want to kind of roll downhill, so to speak, towards the edges? She has this amazing ability to activate the edges, to make our eyes drift towards them, no matter which place we settle on. These fractured images that look to me like maybe fractured rocks or broken stones with these shard-like shapes are incredibly active. And the dynamic between the large black areas, the stark white areas, and these parts I've mentioned before with the sense of flow, where she probably put a lot of turpentine in with the oil paint and let it just drift and drip and run its way down the canvas. These contrasting areas of solid black, void-like white, and then this aqueous feeling gray paint make for a really compelling image. One of different textures and one of different sensibilities. And I think in a very roundabout way, evoke the sea and the sense of sky, horizon, water. See Elegy is part of a series of 5 paintings that Dorothy Hood made around the time that she and her husband started sailing a boat that they kept at Galveston, not far from their home in Houston. And they liked to sail at night. And I think there is an element, albeit very fractured and hard to see, of landscape and of seascape, really, and of nocturnes, of nocturnal seascapes that you can see in these grays, blacks, and whites. Dorothy Hood does not have the reputation she deserves. But her works are in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, and many institutions across Texas. She was the subject of a 2016 book called The Color of Being, and I hope with the newfound emphasis in the art world on overlooked, unjustly overlooked, women artists, that Dorothy Hood will find broader audiences and newfound critical appreciation.